Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live at 9. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how your mind will propel you into success or trick you into failure. This is all about obstacles to your success. So I know some of you sent in a lot of really good topics where that you were really struggling with that have been obstacles to success, including fear of failure and things like that. So one of the things as I was preparing to come before you tonight that just kind of kept falling in my spirit was to really talk to you guys about boundaries and barriers. It's just been really heavy on my heart. So I don't know which one this is for, but I really hope that you really get something useful and productive out of this, and maybe something that will shift you into a place where you can really flow in the abundance that you were created to be in. Hi, LaShonda. Hi, Cindy. Okay, the first thing I want to start with is talking to you guys about boundaries, because whenever we're dealing with success, the most important thing is to have appropriate boundaries, because a boundary is a line that marks the limit of an area or a border or a dividing line. And so we all have these boundaries mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, right? It's so important that we have a line that marks the limit of an area. Also, boundaries are what separate us from where we are and where we want to be. So we have to figure out, where is that boundary? How do we cross that border? And what do we need around us that's going to respect, honor, perpetuate, and value where we're trying to go? So I want to talk a little bit about how boundaries are created first, and you'll understand where I'm going with this. I just want to really lay some foundation so that I don't just tell you some random tools to try. I want to make sure that it has value to you and that you're absolutely able to kind of reflect. Excuse me one second. Reflect on where you've been and where you want to go. Our boundaries are typically shaped by our heritage and culture, the region that we live. We kind of have a culture in the region which we live, our personality, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and life experience. And based on all of these things, that's where we develop the lines where we're comfortable or uncomfortable. Now, we all know, especially as women entrepreneurs, right, that part of being an entrepreneur, let alone a woman entrepreneur, is knowing that there are going to be some times where you're really uncomfortable. And that's okay. But the first thing that we have to do in our boundary setting is recognize that sometimes we're not respecting our own boundaries. We're working too many hours. We're not balancing in the way that we're supposed to do. A lot of you said that work-life balance was really a pretty heavy issue for you. And sometimes it's not respecting the fact that we might not be doing what we're supposed to do. That's a heavy hitter right there, isn't it? That's kind of really hard to swallow, but I've worked with a lot of clients who are doing what they are talented at doing, not what they are called to do. So I was so excited to give you content. I didn't even introduce myself. So let me introduce myself. My name is Gwendolyn Knowlton of Gwendolyn Knowlton Coaching and Training. I am a master neuro and healing coach, which basically means I'm a master life coach, and I specialize in healing and training the brain. I'm a firm believer that if you can train your brain into different thoughts and thought processes, there's nothing you can't do and nothing you can't get over. If we can talk about it, we can tackle it. And so that's one of the things that I'm here to do with you today. One of the things about boundaries is that we haven't always drawn the line and really evaluated, are we doing what we really want to do, or are we doing what we're really good at? Sometimes we don't go deep enough. And what I mean by that is, in my own personal experience, I really struggled with that. I had a business that I started that was a naturopathic business where I did research, training, and licensing with some doctors. I did their research. They would call me in when a patient did not show signs of getting better when they weren't getting the outcomes. I would go over their case from top to bottom. I would research and connect the dots, write a report for the doctor. And that is basically what our business was. I am a phenomenal researcher. I am a very talented writer. But when I looked deeper, what I am is I am a healer. Like all of that stuff plays into what I'm supposed to be doing now. And the reason that that's important is because one of the obstacles that we face is not going deep enough. We start this thing, we're all excited about it because we're good at it, right? But is it really what fills our soul? Is it really the reason why we feel we are purposed to be here and the talent that we're called to bring to this world? For me, that talent is helping people heal. For me, that talent is using those writing and research resources to bring people information that's going to make them happy, healthy, and whole. So part of the boundaries is understanding what are your boundaries with yourself, physically, mentally, and spiritually. We're all in this big age right now where everybody's doing vision boards, right? Vision boards about everything. Vision boards are amazing. But the reason that they're amazing is because they work on your brain. And this is where the neuro coaching stuff comes in. We have something called a reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is what kind of filters the energy in your body. And based on what has happened, determines, is that something that's really important to you? Is that something that needs to keep you safe? And it scans that and creates appropriate stress responses based on the information you give it. It's the same system that houses when you get a car and say you got I just got a car. I got a Lexus. So I now notice every Lexus on the street that's driving, and I didn't care anything about Lexus before. I just happened to get that particular car because I got a good deal on it. But now I notice everyone on the street. Why do I notice that? Because there was a physiological response based on me getting that car that told my reticular activating system it was important. So why does this matter to you? Because throughout the history and course of your life, your brain has recorded every single thing that you have experienced, and it has responded with your reticular activating system accordingly. You have told, based on your response, it determined if that was something important to you and whether or not it needed to keep you safe. That's a whole nother training. I'm not going to go deep into that, but I did want to lay some foundation as to what we're doing and why these boundaries are important. When you are able to honor your boundaries, when you are able to know what your boundaries are, then you are able to create boundaries that honor, bless, and serve you and your mission and values and give you more momentum in your gift. And that is so important when we're doing that, because how you are able to determine what your boundaries and values are is how you're able to determine your time and your personal space. Now, what kind of boundaries should we as women entrepreneurs be setting? Number one, personal space. There's something that we don't talk about. Like, we talk about this all the time, but we don't talk about it in the business perspective. And that is the 5 love languages. So, everybody's pretty familiar about the 5 love languages. There's words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, quality time, physical touch. But now they're talking about a 6th language of love. And guess what that language is? That language, is distance. Because sometimes, especially if you're an introverted person like me, I'm actually an ambivert. I'm an extroverted introvert. I need space to get stuff done. And people who love me, my friends that love me, they know, okay, Gwen's in this mode. Let me give her some space. They'll text me and be like, hey, thinking about you. But there is no expectation of me picking up the phone and calling back immediately, because they know where I'm at in that space, right? But we often don't carry that over when we're setting boundaries of personal space in our work relationships. We haven't always understood and gotten clear on what we need. And when you're not clear on what you need, that is a huge obstacle to success, because you'll take what you're given that feels good at the time. And that is not real peace and success. That is accepting the food on your plate. It's like, if I'm really hungry I can stop at McDonald's, right? But do I really want McDonald's or do I really want a home cooked meal? I'll accept McDonald's, right? Well, I won't anymore, but I would back in the day. I'd accept McDonald's. But the reality is I really want a home cooked meal. But because I'm not clear and I didn't stop to really value, what did my body need? What was I hungry for? What was I looking for? I accepted what I was given. And we often do that in our businesses when we're thinking about time, resources, support. We've not been looking at that. So one of the things that I want to encourage you to do is, if you haven't, I want you to go to the 5 love languages. You can take the test in almost anywhere on the internet for free and figure out what your love language is. And then I want you to consider applying that to your actual business, because one of the things that has been the most beneficial thing that I have ever done in my business, one of the things that propelled me through one of my biggest obstacles concerning around fear, I'll talk about that in a minute, was surrounding myself with people in my business who spoke my love language. My love language happens to be, my primary one is acts of service and quality time. And the people who are closest to me, they give me quality time whenever they can. I don't expect a lot of it, but they're the people that when I call and I'm like, I really miss you, they're like, okay, let's get it on the calendar. I really miss you too, right? And acts of service. The people who are a step ahead of me, one of the women in this group, I will shout out to Vita Harley. Vita speaks my love language beautifully. If I'm struggling, she can go in and we have a very similar cadence in the way that we write. She's always a step ahead of me. But I did not realize that by surrounding myself with someone like her in that space, or others like her that speak to me in my love language in my business as it results to my business, that I feel more fulfilled and supported in the entrepreneurial realm, which takes away an abundance of fear. So step number 1 that I would really encourage you guys to do is go take that love languages test. Mine has switched over the years. I think that mine originally was words of affirmation, but since I've done a lot of work in myself, I am proud to say I really affirm myself. I really don't need a whole bunch of people telling me, you know, you're doing great. It's wonderful. I always appreciate it. It means a lot to me, but that's just not my primary love language, and it used to be. So if you haven't taken it in a while, you might want to take it and just see if that switched at all. I want to talk to you about energy. This is where I shine. So one of my jobs that I teach in the healing process is how energy works, because everything around us is energy, right? Everything around us is about flow. Everything is flowing through your body. Me right now, I'm literally beaming energy at you through sound, because it's energy forming sound waves that's coming to you. We are fielding that in our body. Our brain is metabolizing that all the time, and based on past experiences and based on what has happened before, my body responds to that. Well, what happens when you have blockages? Your money gets held up. You know why? They call it currency for a reason. We think of currents in electricity, right? But when the currency is blocked, what happens? It shuts off that electricity. Guess what happens in your body when that flow is blocked? Currency, right? But we don't take the time to think of that. The thing is, the people that we surround ourselves with, there's something called spontaneous synchronization. And there was a big test done on it where they took a bunch of metronomes and they had them on a level counter, and they were all started at different times. The metronomes, as long as they were on the same base, they synchronized themselves with one another so that they were in pace with each other and going on an alike tempo. They have found scientifically that this applies to human beings, circadian rhythms, heart rate and intestinal function, pancreatic function, marching soldiers, fireflies. We are created to house and be like and adapt to the energy around us. So it's very important that you create boundaries in your surroundings. What kind of energy is around you? Does it cause you to flow, or does it stop you up? Because if it's stopping you up, that currency, right? That currency, energetic and physical, can be stopped up. And we can also see it a lot of times manifest in physical symptoms too. I'm pulling out my list because I don't want to tell you not one wrong piece of information here. So what we know somatically, and somatically is the mind-body connection, right? And so when we are feeling fear, fear is actually run through the kidneys. It's filtered through the kidneys, just like your blood, just like your toxins. The energy of fear is filtered through your kidneys. Indecision is the gallbladder. Anger, frustration is the liver. Abundance issues, guess where abundance issues are filtered through as well? The kidney. So by removing a lot of these obstacles and doing the work and really pushing yourself in a way, if you're struggling with it, get yourself a good coach. There's a lot of us out there that are just committed to seeing you thrive and get to your ultimate success. You've got to make sure that you're flowing, because it will affect you physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Okay, so a lot of you said that one of your biggest barriers was time management. So I want to be sure to undress and unpack that a little bit. So I wish I could give you just this great advice for time management and making sure that your days were always organized. But there's something that I use that has really, really changed my life in that area. I make a list and I put 3 columns in that list. The first column is want to. Next column is need to. Next column is have to. So you actually make a list of everything that you need to get done that day. And after you make the list, you separate it into the 3 columns: want to, need to, have to. Okay? This is how you distinguish, because if you don't actually write down the description, you're going to put stuff in the wrong category. For example, want to is what will make me feel better if I get it done. So cleaning my room is on the want to list. I got 3 loads of laundry up there I got to take care of. That's a want to. I would put that under the need to list, because every time I go up to my room, I get anxiety because I have to have a clean living environment, right? So I would have put that under my need to list, but it's not. It's a want to, because the outcome is that it would make me feel better if I get it done. The need to list consists of the things that are important to get done. It's not crucial, and you have some space and time between executing that task and a consequence of you not executing that task, okay? So that's like, I've got a term paper due in 2 weeks. That's on my need to get it done. Nothing's going to happen immediately, but I have to have it done in 2 weeks, right? The have to get it done are those things where there's immediate consequences. For example, I have a deadline tomorrow at 9 a.m. If I don't meet that deadline, I could lose a bid, right? So that's a have to, because there's an immediate consequence if I don't get it done. So that would be my first recommendation, is write down what you want to, need to, and have to based on where is the consequence level. And that's how you compartmentalize your to-do list. Take your have to list and literally put a time on it. From 8 to 9, I'm going to work on my bid for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. From 9 to 10, I'm going to be in that meeting. From 10 to 10:30, I'm going to travel to my office. From 10:30 to 11:30, I'm going to complete things on my need to do list. 11:30, I have a client coming in. So this is how this looks, to give you some idea. Okay. The other thing that you guys talked about that was really very prevalent amongst the discussions was work-life balance. How do I keep a work-life balance? You're going to notice a huge, huge, huge difference once you determine what do you need? What do you feel like you're missing that's keeping you from feeling like you have balance in your life? I am here to tell you that if it costs you your peace, it is too expensive, right? If it's a lack of focus, then I want you guys to think backwards in how you approach things. And what I mean by backwards, like say one of your obstacles to success is fear. Don't focus on getting over the fear, focus on why you're afraid. Meaning, because if you focus on why you're afraid, then that will give you an idea as to what you need not to be afraid anymore. Does that make sense? So by that, I mean, okay, one of the things that I really struggled with was I had a fear of success. I didn't have a fear of success because I was afraid of being successful. I was afraid of success because I was afraid that I would not be able to balance work, home, and the expectations that my friends had for me to maintain being the type of friend that I am. I felt very overwhelmed where I was. It would take me forever to call a friend back. I would have to make all sorts of excuses because I was just exhausted. So if I get even more successful, then how on earth am I going to balance that, right? So I was self-sabotaging because I didn't have the tools at that time to realize that this is what I was afraid of. When I figured out what that actually was, I was actually able to articulate to my friends, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Please don't take it personally if I don't call you back. I will stop to talk to you, but I'm really bad about reaching out. So I really need you to do this for me. If you want to talk to me, please know you call me and don't ever feel like it's a burden. I was able to articulate what I needed in that space. I was able to figure out that I needed to delegate more. I could not balance everything myself. And there was a while there that I just had to realize that guess what? There was going to be 2 rooms in my house that they were clean, but they were lived in because I couldn't keep up. And I had to decide what my priorities and expectations were. That's the other thing. Be clear on your expectations for yourself. So many times we attribute the expectations that we have on ourselves to other people. I felt like my family expected me to make a home cooked meal every single night and work 9 hours a day and fold 3 loads of laundry and come home and clean all night. And I was miserable, right? So I realized that what I needed was more support. I need a clean environment to live in. I need a tidy, let me put it this way, I need a tidy environment to live in. Okay, I can go without vacuuming a day or so, but I need a tidy environment to live in, which meant that I needed to verbalize to my family that y'all are going to get some more chores, but you're not in trouble. This is what I'm trying to do for the family. This is how I'm trying to help. When my kids were little, even though I'm married, my husband worked second shift and worked usually almost 80 hours a week. So I was a single mom who happened to be married. And what I learned was the expectations I was setting on myself were not realistic, that we cleaned this day, this day, this day. And so on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the priority was to make sure the house, a different room or different rooms in the house got cleaned. On Tuesday and Thursday, when they looked trashed, right, I was okay because I had allotted time the next day and I knew that it was going to happen. We haven't gotten clear on what we need and who we need around us. So in developing that work-life balance, we have to get clear on support. Get your love language, who you need supporting you. How do they speak that love language to you? It's important with your friends. It's important with your business associates. Time management. Do that list. Want to, have to, need to. Delegation. Ask for help. Most of the women in this group that I know that I've had the privilege of talking to and working with you guys, you all have servants' hearts, like for real, you have servants' hearts. And guess what that means? That means that A lot of times, if we're honest, we are servants and we are here to serve. But don't you love it? Like I get an emotional thing when I'm giving, right? Like doing this and serving you all. It's fantastic that I have a gift to share with you, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't get off on that a little bit, because I love to help people. That feeds my soul. So I'm getting something out of it too, right? So here's the thing. Allow people to feel that way by helping you. The hardest thing that I've ever had to learn in my healing journey is to be able to accept help, because we've been given bad information that vulnerability is weakness, when scientifically it has been proven that vulnerability is strength. That is one of the reasons why we have actually stress responses, because those stress responses actually release hormones that cause you to feel like you need help. And that help causes you to go and ask and be vulnerable, right? And say, I'm drowning here. I need some help. And when people are allowed to meet you in that space, it causes productive, meaningful, long-term conversations and communication. It's a very powerful connection. And we as entrepreneurs, as moms, as women, we don't have the right to deny somebody what we love to receive so much. The last thing, of course, is boundaries by setting reasonable timelines. I have wanted to do this for a really long time. But what I had to realize was, even recently, I had to go undergo surgery, and I got in a car accident. By this point, I was supposed to have all my marketing done and be launching my online program. But when I had those medical difficulties, I had to sit back and say, how much time do I need to be able to give this 100%? I don't want to half-ass this situation. I want everybody to get my best. And how long is it going to take me to recover to be able to do that? So I had to adjust my timelines, not with what people thought I was. We're so big on hustle and grind and, get out there and hustle hard. Well, hustle hard means different things for different people. I was hustling hard to heal, and that counts for something. You have little kids at home. Hustling hard might mean that, hey, my kids are little one time. They're only little once. So I may have to push back some entrepreneurial timelines a little bit so that I feel fully fulfilled in my family while consistently working little by little on the business, right? The last thing that came through that everybody was talking about that I want to take these last few minutes to address is financial barriers, okay? And educational barriers. Research. There's no one answer to get finances and seed money and all that. But we have so many free programs in this area, and we have very low cost programs as well. A lot of people will offer boot camps and offer scholarships for those boot camps. That's important. The Small Business Administration in our area, I think that's run by Alan Steele. Phenomenal resource, completely free. He's over at the 101 every Wednesday till noon. You can call 101 and find out about that. SCORE, which, Cindy has promoted both of those resources time and time again. But do some research. It seems intimidating. I'll put up in the group a little bit later on, but there's a lot of really good grants and resources for women and minority business owners. You can even research when you go to your normal Facebook page, the little magnifying search glass up in the top corner, you can put in women's business grants, and you will literally get a list of resources of different articles that people publicly post that will tell you where you can find those resources. There's a Facebook Marketing for Women in Business group. You can go to grants.gov, and they will give you a list of resources for women in business. Let's see, there's Amber Grants for Women. Owners.com is a resource for women of color. Loans and grants for women in small business consist of things like Cartier has a Women's Initiative Award. They award 2 different scholarships twice a year. One is for $30,000, one is for $100,000. There's a Halstead grant for jewelry designers, a Girl Boss Foundation grant for clothing designers, artists, anybody in the arts. Girl Boss has a grant for that. There's an Amber grant that anybody can apply for in any industry. That's a $10,000 grant. And the Open Meadows Foundation is a $75,000 grant for non-for-profits. I found these literally searching in Facebook. And so I wanted to share that with you. So use that as a resource. Pay attention to who feeds your soul. Don't just, when you're around people, I want you to pay attention to not just who do I like and who do I not like. Pay attention to how does that person make you feel? What is it about them that you really enjoy being around? Why do they feed your spirit? Because when you're aware of what's going on inside of you, you can engineer that. You can be aware that this is a quality I like in the people around me, because they say you're the sum total of the 5 people that you're around, and the 5 people that I'm always around are pretty bad tails. So I'm grateful for that. So I think that covers everything in the small kind of mad dash course on obstacles to success. And if you guys have any questions, we're going to stay here instead of go over to Zoom. I'm going to read through some of these and answer any questions that you might have. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Oh, somebody posted in there. Oh, Cindy, of course, Cindy is on it. The 5 love languages, so go in and take that. Let me scroll down so I can see what you guys are saying. All right. Oh, Day said that they have some FedEx grants as well. Yes, that is wonderful. Does anybody have any questions for me? Anything that you'd like addressed? I'm here to serve y'all. Anybody? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody on there. Nobody's coming with the questions. I'm here for you. Now's the time, guys. You got free coaching. Take advantage of it. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it. I don't know if Cindy wants me to head over to Zoom. We were just going to kind of do it here, but I love the interaction. So if you all want to go over to Zoom, we can do that. Cindy, chime in. Is that okay? And if you have... okay. Kelly's like, tell us about boundary oil. All right. So one of the things that I specialize in as a neuro coach is I specialize in the mind-body connection. Actually, you know what? Let's go over to Zoom so we can all talk together, and then I'll address this there. All right? I'll see you guys on Zoom.